Welcome to Benito's Business. I'm Yoltsin.
I'm Irvin, and today we'll be talking about credit with our guest.
I'm Dennis Hom.
All right, welcome, Dennis. We're happy to have him here today. So today we're going to be talking about credit mainly, but we're going to dive into a bunch of other things. So first, Dennis, what is credit? Just to lay it flat.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get there, I just want to talk about a little bit of who I am and what I do and everything. And then how it kind of correlates to like my, expertise when it comes to credit. So my name is Dennis Hom. I'm a community relations manager for JP Morgan Chase. It's a fantastic opportunity. I've been doing it for about 3 years, and this is what I do. So think of me as an advocate that's connecting with universities, schools, K through 12, nonprofit organizations, small businesses in the area, anything, veterans, the military, any way that I can show and give financial empowerment for others to really achieve like their goals and to accomplish the things that they set for themselves. So that could be buying a home, increasing their credit score, which we'll be talking today, and various other things like creating that generational wealth, for themselves and for their future family, right? I think these are all powerful things that we need to start talking about, not just at settings like this, but at the dinner table with our friends, with our family, and kind of navigate ways that we can really bring financial health conversation at the forefront of everything we do. Because as I'm out there, I've realized that a lot of people haven't been given information on how to navigate and be financially healthy. And so when that becomes an issue, if you think about it, that's also going to affect their mental health. That's also going to affect their physical health. And I find those three components, your financial health, physical health, and your mental health, are the key components of making sure that everything is balanced in life. Because what I hear most of the time is when your finance is not in order, that stresses a person out. Yeah. So it affects the mental health, and then it leads to the physical situations too, right? So that's why focusing on your credit score and either maintaining it or boosting it to new levels has got to be the everyday bread and butter of like how we think about our money, because it's going to help us get more opportunities in the future to get that home, to be able to get that car, to be able to get that credit line increase, and give more what I call cash flow flexibility for us to advance ourselves in our life. And so when it comes to the actual credit score, as you mentioned, think about it as your ID. It's how you identify yourself in the financial world. Just based on that 3-digit number that goes as low as 300 all the way up to 850, you want to consider yourself, where do I belong on this spectrum? And obviously the higher the number, the better you are. So that is a number that represents who you are as far as being financially responsible. And other people get to view you in that number. So it's like, how do you want to brand yourself in the financial world? Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so I have a question. So where would you consider, what number would be like a good standing? Like, you're doing okay, and where's the transition into like, this is really good credit?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. You definitely want to be like in the 600 and above. Okay, that's usually a good.
I have a 727 score.
Hello, that's what's up. That's good. Keep that going, and just know that that's a really good score. And you're, sky's the limit up to 850. Okay. But like we're, just being able to focus on best practices along the way and pick up all the different like techniques that's going to help you get there, right? So 600-ish, I'd say in the upper 600s and plus. It's going to get you either that approval of whatever you're applying for and also the better rate that's going to come. If you get that below, it's going to be a hit or miss if you get approved or not, right? So as far as approval rates, 6 and above. Yeah.
Okay, and how do you get there? Like when someone starts, is there an automatic like, oh, you're starting at 500, or does it build up? How does it work?
Yeah, so that number is not automatic. It what happens is you have no credit. right? So you absolutely have no number. And so it's the first second that you apply somewhere and get approved is when you begin your credit, right? And so let's just say, for example, you don't have a credit card, you don't have any car loans or anything under your name, and you decide, I want to get a credit card, a student credit card, which there's quite a few that are out there, which is fantastic. Which the difference between student credit cards and like a regular credit card is the approval rate is going to be a lot higher, especially if you don't have any credits, which is fantastic. And then number two, either the interest rate's going to be lower, and there's also going to be a lot of different features that's going to help you build your credit along the way, which is great, right? So with that said, you want to apply for any one of those student credit cards because it's a better approval rate. And then once you get that, now the important part comes in. It's the daily habits and the routines that's going to help you build that up. So say you've had that credit card and it's month one into your credit card. You purchased a few things, at the store, and you were able to pay it off. Let's just say you put $25 into it and you paid off $25. That's great. That's your first payment on your payment history. It's going to show a nice green check mark that you did it, and that's going to build it up. Every time you make that online, or not online, but on-time payment, you're going to start to see it go higher and higher and higher. And even better is if you're going to use that credit card and keep a balance continuing, right? Let's say you have $1,000 limit for the first time, and you get you bought something for $300. If you keep a balance going on for $300, that's fine, but the better that you bring it down, the better your credit score is going to be. And there's a thing called like utilization ratio. So based on that number, you got $300, that's a balance, and you have $1,000 limit. So now you're about 30%, right? As far as utilization goes, you want to stay 30% or below. You definitely don't want to be like carrying an $800 balance on a $1,000 credit limit, because then that shows you're at 80% and you're going to watch your credit score go down.
Okay. Interesting. I'm just thinking about my own credit card right now. I have to pay it off.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And
something to think about.
What if you have the $300 balance and then the next month it does go up to $800 and you like go up and down? Like, does that change anything?
Yeah. So it's going to show good activity, which is fantastic. That's always good because it shows that you're using it. But the best part that you said is it goes up, but it goes down too. That's the best part that I just heard, because what we tend to hear is it goes up and up and up and up, right? And then it's so hard to bring it back down. But if you can manage it where you can get up and then bring it down and so on and so forth, and you have that movement that's going on, fantastic. But what you're going to see is maybe the month that it is higher, your credit score is going to go down. But I wouldn't worry too much because you have a plan on bringing it back down next month. And then you make that large payment and then you see your credit score go back up. So it's always going to fluctuate month over month like a roller coaster, which is okay. That's healthy, because what you're doing is you're building a relationship with whoever that credit card is with, that bank, say for example. You're letting them see that you're using that credit card on a consistent basis, but you're a healthy spender. You're very financially responsible because you're making large payments to bring it back down. You're building good momentum, but also a good pattern that the bank is deciding, wow, this person is responsible. Guess what? You're going to get a credit line increase because they're saying they're utilizing a good portion of it. That $1,000 limit is not going to cut it. Let's increase it to $2,000, right? Because some people are like, all right, I got my first credit card. It's $1,000. I'm not going to use it until there's an emergency situation happens. But are you building your credit history that way? You're not. It's more stagnant. It's more just hanging out. It's just more there for emergency reasons. But if you can actively use it financially responsibly and bring it back down, you're going to build that good relationship with your bank, and they're going to see like, oh, right, this is a client that wants to establish this relationship. Let's increase that credit limit. Let's work on the interest rate, right? And then you start to see a lot of more favorable things that happen. My very first credit card that I've had which is funny. I actually got it here on campus when I first attended in my first semester. And I've had that credit card since, and I don't use it as often, but I keep it because I want that credit history. Because if you close it,
right, like what would happen if you closed it?
Yeah, if you close it, you basically kind of like wipe out that history of on-time payments that you've had. And also thinking about all your credit limit combined, you've already reduced that to a fraction, you know? So let's say you have 3 credit cards at, you know, $1,000 each, you got a $3,000 limit. But if you take one down, you now only have 2/3 of what you had, right? So that's going to affect. And if you're carrying that balance higher, you see how that ratio is now going to be more of a negative impact, because now it shows that you don't have that much more cushion, right? So what I do with that first credit card that I've had is I set some like small monthly subscription that I have on there, and it's for Netflix, for example, which, you know, I don't know what it's $12 a month or something like that. And I just have that on automatic payment, which is fantastic. So it takes care of itself. And I make sure that that account still goes on and it doesn't get closed. Because sometimes if you don't use that credit card, the bank can make, you know, and they have the right to be able to like lower that limit or even close it out, right? So keep it active and keep it using, but never shut it down.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, okay, you talked about closing that card. What would happen if you use up all of your limit and you just don't pay? You're just like, you know what? I can't with this. I'm gonna just ignore it.
Yeah. Man, that's a loaded question, but it happens. You know, every so often it happens, and you know, sometimes we're in a difficult financial situation, and you know, we got to use everything that we have, and we don't have any more in our checking account or a savings account, and we got to leverage everything in our credit card, and we're at the last limit and we can't pay it off, and we leave it abandoned. So what happens next is it goes into delinquency status, right? And so that happens after 30 days from your missed payment. Then it goes into the 60-day delinquency status. And then it goes into 90 days, and then 120 days. And then after that period of extended period, then it actually goes into collections, okay? And when it goes to collections, that means it goes to a third-party company that handles these debt management. And so now they sold off, quote unquote, to another company. That other company bought your debt, right? Whatever that amount is, let's just say $1,000 in credit card debt. Now they're going to go ahead and pursue collecting that from you directly. Okay. And they're going to be relentless about that, because how they make money is recouping their debt, right? Because they paid, that's an expense that they had to pay whatever bank to be able to get that loan from them to themselves. So when it goes to that status, it's going to be very hard on your credit, right? It's going to take a huge beating on your credit. And you have a couple options. You got to pay it off with probably a payment plan, or work on reducing that debt. Sometimes they'll be able to reduce it either half amount, a fraction, whatever percentage that is, so that way you can get back up. Even though it shows on your credit, at least it shows that it's paid versus unpaid, which you don't ever want it to go unpaid, because that's worse. Yeah. So, but it's not forever. So just because you're in that situation doesn't mean it's forever. You can regain yourself after 7 years.
7 years.
7?
I know, it sounds like a long time.
Yeah, Irvin, you got to pay that credit card, okay?
No, I was just thinking about my payment. So I paid last week though. I'm good.
How many credit cards do you have?
Me?
Yeah.
Only one.
Oh.
How about you?
2.
2?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I started, I got a Discover credit card in 2 years ago, I believe. And I started with $500. I was like, why is this so little? But I didn't even have $500 to spend. So I was like, it's fine. And then after a year of having that, I got a Chase credit card. And so now my credit line increased on my Discover card, and my Chase card, I started off higher. I think it was $2,600 something like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Yeah.
Which one do you like better?
I think the Chase one. The Chase one has a lot of rewards, and obviously the more you spend, the more like cash back you get. And with Discover, I've had it for longer, but I've gotten less in like cashback bonus or rewards or whatever. So, but you know, they're still fine. They both of them, their apps are easy to manage and like go through. So, and I actually also recently opened a Roth IRA account.
Nice.
So, yeah. The only thing that was funny, my mom, okay, let me restart. I have, I'm from the Bay Area, so my mailing address is my mom's home address.
Okay.
And so when I opened that Roth IRA account, they're like, okay, we're going to send you something in the mail. And I was like, oh, that means you're going to send it back home.
Right.
And I just told my mom, like, look out for something in the mail.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to, like, send it to me. And she's like, okay. Finally, it gets home, and she calls me, and she opened my mail, and she was like, why did you open a Roth IRA account? I told you this and that. And I'm like, whoa, why are you mad at me? Like, isn't it a good thing?
Yeah, hold up. You opened my mail. Let's go back there.
Okay, actually, I gave her, like, permission, because I was like, Mom,
Okay.
when it gets there, like, call me so we can open it, and, like, because I needed to sign something, and I was like, just I want to see it first, and then
Right.
we'd go from there. But no, she just opened it and then called me all mad, and that's what I actually wanted to talk about. That, like, she was like, why are you risking your money? But isn't a Roth IRA account supposed to be secure?
Okay, so I'm gonna add a question to that because we also did like a poll on our Instagram, and then I kind of memorized all the questions people had. So I'm gonna combine a question someone had with her question.
Yeah.
So can you describe what an Roth IRA is versus a typical 401k?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like a 401k is a retirement account that is established at your work, right? It's employer sponsored. And so what that means is that out of your paycheck directly, you can, and it's completely optional, but you can decide how much you want allocated automatically to the 401k. Right, and it happens every time you get paid. Usually people get paid every 2 weeks. And so you can do 1%, you can do 5%. Usually the sweet number is 5%. And the reason why I say that is because some companies will match whatever you put in, right? So if you put 5% of your paycheck every single time and you give it instructions for it to go to your 401k, your company will also put away 5% as well too, which is great.
So you're getting kind of 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to not do it because you're going to lose out on money. And it's very important to set money off to the side, especially, the sooner the better. Like if you're in your college years, it's fantastic to be able to establish what you just did, open up a Roth IRA, set up a 401k, do it sooner than later, because what happens is compounding interest starts to build up. Not so much in the beginning years, it's at the tail end of your retirement. So when you start, being 50 in your 60s and you're about to retire, you're going to see that the balance and the interest that you're earning on your 401k or your IRA starts to exponentially grow. Like on a graph, like think about your X and Y axis. Like in the beginning, the slope is just slow and steady. But once you start coming to retirement age, it starts to just skyrocket something beautifully. And that's where you could potentially, if you're consistent about it and you're putting your money away, nothing earth shattering, something that you can afford, but through the years, millionaire, right?
Okay.
And, right, because if you think about it, let's go back to what your mom is saying and the questions you have. Oh, you're putting your money away and you're going to lose money, so on and so forth. What happens is that's usually connected with some sort of emotional money experience, right? Either that they have or that they heard from others. But if you think about what happens with the market, it may have its ups and downs, but historically, it continues to go up. Right? Just take it back decades and decades ago, I don't know, into 1930s. It all started at one point. And if you zoom in way close, you'll be able to see that there's a lot of up and down. But if you zoom out, you'll be able to see over the decades, it gradually goes up, right? So especially with time, that's going to be something that's going to help you to your advantage over the long haul. So if an individual starts retiring into an IRA or 401k at the age of 40, with whatever their income is, probably higher than somebody in their 20s, but that person in their 20s started, planning for their retirement in their 20s with a smaller amount, more than likely the person that started a lot earlier would have a bigger retirement amount than the person that started later, because it goes back into the compounding interest, right, over the long haul. So to you guys that are tuned in, start something now. It's going to help you over the long haul. And for your mom, just tell her it's a Roth IRA. I'm taking advantage of the tax situation, so we don't have to worry about that later. And not only that, what I'm allocating my money is in a wise way, where I'm putting it into things that are not just one or two different stocks, but you're diversifying it in multiple different, companies, if you will. Because over the long haul, a balanced portfolio is going to be a lot better than just one or two different companies, because now you're kind of gambling, with one or two companies versus spreading your money in hundreds of thousands of companies out there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And for the Roth IRA, like I started with this an amount. Should I continue to put more in, like every so often or every year, or what's the best strategy there?
Okay, so do what you can, kind of map out how much you want to put away. And what I mean by that is go back to whatever your budget. Everybody has a budget. And if you haven't budgeted yourself, it's a good time to do so. And by budgeting, it doesn't mean paying bills and savings. No. I like to break it up in 3 different buckets. You can pay your bills, allocate what your expenses are, and then also have what you can save after all your expenses. And then the remaining portion is your fun money, because life is about enjoying. It's not just about let me pay my bills, let me just save, and then that's it. And we can enjoy, our life. No, put in 3 buckets, but it doesn't need to be all the rest of it for fun money. Because then at the end, what's your financial plan? What's your financial journey going to look like, right? And if we do it the right way now, that's not something that you're going to have to be worried about. The cost of the homes and the cars are going to continue to rise. But if you combat that with good behaviors, good money behaviors now, that's going to help you over the long haul. So back to your question, how much you save, whatever you can after you allocate how much of that fun money. You don't really need to have all in fun money, right? And if you can stagger some of that out into your savings money, then that's going to help you over the long haul, because every little bit, it's going to start to add up really fast. I personally like it to come out of my paycheck. So every time I get paid, it automatically goes into that account, and that'll be good. And for each year, the maximum, what they call contribution amount, changes. It increases over the years. I believe now it's 7,000.
Yeah, that's what I saw when I signed up.
Yeah, good. So perfect. So, so 7,000, divide that by, 12 months, and then divide that by 2 times we get paid in a month, right? And then that'll be your number of how much you can go ahead and allocate from your monthly or biweekly pay to go directly into that account. You know what I'm saying? And you're just taking advantage of that. Why not? Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, but for the 401k, how a lot of people usually move from different jobs or over the years get promoted or whatever. If you were to switch jobs, does that 401k rolled over, or how does it work? Great
question. This comes up quite often. What tends to happen is you're dedicated in your first job, everything's exciting, you started your 401k, you're contributing, everything is great. Then you get an opportunity for a better job. You know what I mean? It's a promotion, you get a raise, so on and so forth. And then you set up a 401k there. Okay. What most people do is they leave their 401k behind. And what I mean by that is they don't reinvest that into something active. And individuals may tend to not fully understand that even though you're contributing to your 401k, that's only step one. Step two is making sure whatever you set up your 401k to do is working for you, right? Because as soon as you move your money, it just goes into like a savings money market account, sitting there earning 1%, maybe 0.01%, nothing. It's until you actually allocate those funds into like a mutual fund or an ETF or a stock, whatever it is, right? Bonds. And then once you actually have that money working for you, then that's great. But usually when somebody transfers to a different job, they don't quite manage those funds because either they don't have access to their employees, like previous employers, like, website or what have you, that you need to immediately transfer that out and bring it to your bank. And then that way it can go ahead and start working for you and continue to grow.
I had a question for you. So I opened a Roth IRA a couple months ago. I opened mine through Fidelity. Where did you open yours, or how and where?
I opened mine with Discover.
Discover.
Yeah, since I already had a credit card with them, they had like on the app, it was like open another account. And so I was like, let me see like what. I had been wanting to open a high yield savings account and a Roth IRA. And so actually, funny story, my intention was to open a high yield savings account. But once I went into like their option of open another account, it led me towards the Roth IRA. And so at first I was a little confused. I was like, is it the Roth IRA or is it the high yield savings? Because I was more interested in the high yield savings. But then ended up being the Roth IRA. And I was like, you know what? That's actually a good thing too. Like I'm not mad. I can open a high yield savings account later or some other time. But it was easier for me because I already had an account with them. But why did you choose Fidelity?
So I actually heard a couple people talk about Fidelity. I saw it on TikTok, honestly, too. And I started just did all my research I could. I really liked it. I looked at everything. And honestly, it was really simple to search up and then just started. I just got my account. It made me do a whole bunch of extra stuff, but it was pretty simple. I had everything laid out. At the moment, I haven't really invested in a while. I started off with, I think, like $100. And then every month I just like made $10 payments. At the moment I haven't really invested too much, but honestly I really like Fidelity. It's really easy. Like it guides me. It gives me all the information I need.
Okay. What do you think about that, Dennis?
Yeah, more power to you guys. It sounds like you guys done your research. What I say to everybody listening in is choose a bank or financial institution that you feel connected to. And I mean that or that's convenient to you, or that you're wanting to establish a relationship, because no matter where you go, you're going to do yourself a solid. Like you can't go wrong, because what's happening is competition is at its finest. You have all these different banks and institutions that are trying to compete for your business, right? And so they're going to have a lot of tech savvy, tutorials, demonstrations, free investment, free trades, whatever it is, it's going to be all packaged, ready to go, right? And so you just really look at what's convenient for you, what's a brand that you feel like you want to connect with, and then you're going to be good to go. And if it doesn't work out for you, guess what? You got hundreds of other options to be able to switch that through. But the most important part is choose one. Because if you're gonna think about it, you're probably more than likely gonna overthink it and not take action, right? So the most important part is pick one, do it, take action, open it, and it's not that hard. They've streamlined the entire digital account opening process so fast, so convenient, that it really takes maybe 10 to maybe 20 minutes to open. And you're ready to go to fund that account. So just do it, right? It's free. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have any other questions for right now, Arvin?
I had a couple. I don't know if you could check the docs since the computer kind of kicked us out.
Yeah, let me sign back in real quick.
Yeah,
there's a couple questions we had on there, but I know there was a question. Someone had a question. Can you explain what a CD is?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a CD is a non-investment account. A CD is insured by FDIC, which is a corporation like an insurance company, right? So you're good. And usually those are backed by all the different banks that are out there. And a CD stands for Certificate of Deposit. And so what that means is this is your money that you can go ahead and save and put it off to a separate account that gets locked in there for however many months. And that's usually called a term. So you could do it for a 3-month term, a 6-month term, a 12-month term. What you're ideally looking for is the best interest rate that's going to be for that specific term. And you're going to see a lot of advertisement out there, a lot of banks that are showing a lot of different, CD terms with their best rate as their promotional offer. And so when you're looking at all those different ones, look at number one, the strength of that bank. Okay. So if it's a smaller regional type bank, do more research, just because the bigger banks pay the biggest amount of that insurance. So we're always going to be first in line if a bank fails. You know what I mean? And you're going to get paid out and you don't have to worry about it because that money is insured. Now, if you're a smaller bank, you're going to be probably last in line to get paid because they pay the smallest amount of the insurance just by the size and the amount that they have on deposit. And so that's going to probably take a little bit longer, but that's all worst case scenario. So the best thing that you can do is decide how much is that interest rate and how long is that term, because depending on your use or, forecasted, usage of that funds, you can kind of determine how long that's going to be. What I love doing is just going on the internet and just searching a CD calculator. So that way you can kind of determine like how long is it going to be until I make that much in interest, or, in gains, right? So that's one thing to consider. But
so basically you're saying with the CDs, your money's locked for a certain term.
Yeah.
So you can't pull it out. It's just there.
You can. But guess what? There's going to be a penalty, right? And so it could be where you forfeit whatever's earned from that interest or a portion of it. It depends on what that term is with that bank. But that's what you're going to have to forfeit. So if you need it, you can get it. So don't feel like there's no hope, right? If an emergency situation happens, you can take it out. It's not going to take away from your actual principal amount. So let's say you put away, I don't know, $5,000, just know, and you're going to take it out a little bit early. Whatever you earn in interest is the part that's going to be taken out, but it's never going to tap into the 5,000. You know what I'm saying? So you're never going to be at a negative, net negative. Yeah. So yeah, that's one option. Other people are like, well, I don't know if I want to do that because I might be using the funds sometime soon. But then I asked, are you going to be using all the funds? And usually they say no. I'm like, okay, split your money, right? Maybe do like half this, half that. Half into a CD account and half into your savings account, which is still earning interest, maybe a little bit less, but at least you're earning something rather than nothing, right? So it's okay to do that. You don't have to put all of it into a CD account, but just make some money. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I had never heard about CDs, so... Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, you know why? Because for the longest time, CDs have had the lowest interest rate because we've always been in the low rate market, right? And so as of recent, in the past, a few years, the interest rate has gone up. So inversely, interest rate for borrowing products like car loans, home loans, credit cards, all that interest has gone up. But so has interest on deposit products. So like savings account, checking account, CDs have also gone up. So it kind of works hand in hand. It's quite relative. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess one last question. What's something that you wish you knew earlier on in your career? And that's also personally or professionally?
All this money talk, honestly, like I started banking or working in the banking sector as soon as I graduated here at Cal State Long Beach. And, during those early years, I didn't really realize how important my financial health needed to be. especially at a younger age, I was thinking like, okay, I'm making money, I'm living life, YOLO, right? And you really start thinking about today's needs. But instead, they weren't needs, they were my wants. You feel me? Like, I didn't need any of it. They were just the things that I wanted. And so I wasted a lot of money that I could have like saved up. And I was making decent money, it's my entry level job. I just graduated. But I wasn't allocating any to savings. It was like, let me pay my bills and let me spend the rest, right? And it was just, being out, with the friends, up in the club, going to Vegas, you know what I'm saying? Like living life, right? And, but what I'm saying is, continue with that, but it didn't need to be all of every single penny that was left in my account to go splurge and buy things that I don't need. And so that's, from the experience part, but then the material part, I didn't need to spend that much money on brand name, designer clothes and shoes, and it's all in excess, right? And I realized as the years continued that my clients, the ones that I serve, the wealthiest ones were low key, chill. The ones that are, I don't know, balances were low or overdrafting their account, Gucci'd out. Okay. So, so consider that, right? Because the strength is not how much you can spend it, but it's how much you can save. Because anybody can spend. That's so easy.
Yeah.
It's being able to have discipline to save that makes you a millionaire, right? So, and if you have a good, consistent process, like we talked about, being able to invest, plan for that retirement, think about the future, that's going to be your best friend. And if you find yourself in a hard situation where you can't, nobody's saying put away $200 every paycheck. $5, $10, start somewhere. What you're doing is you're building a healthy habit where it becomes a routine that automatically, I gotta save because that's part of my life. Just like we gotta eat, we gotta pay our bills, we gotta, those things become automatic. Saving should be too, right? And so if I looked at myself in my early career, my early, college dentist, like that's something that I would say, put a focus on that, because any career opportunity that you're going to get, you're going to not be stressed out by the money situation because you got good habits that you know how to live within your means. Because the more money you make, what?
The more you can save?
Well, yes. Okay, yes. Ding, ding, ding. That's the right answer. But the reality is, for 99% of the people out there, the more money they make, the more money they spend.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Because your lifestyle starts to adapt by the income that you're making. But somehow, let's just, fast forward yourself 5-10 years from now, all of a sudden you're going to see yourself in a different lifestyle because you're keeping up with your income and also the people around you, right? And so that's going to have an effect over the long term of like how you view money. And it's going to be that lifestyle that's going to control your money versus you controlling your own money. And so that's where it gets pretty dangerous. But if you can grab yourself right now and tell yourself, like, I'm not going to go ahead and get swallowed by society and all these influences and external pressures, that you're going to do right by you because you don't want to be stressed out and having a headache, and just, I don't know, just being overwhelmed by finances, then you're going to be in a good place. But, start investing now. That's so huge.
You guys heard. Start investing, get a credit card, start somewhere, $5-10 a month or
right.
every paycheck. Yeah.
And when you hear investing, don't overthink it. It's not that hard. It's simple. You open an account, $5, $10, $20, get you in and start, right? And you're going to start to see that grow.
You heard that, Irvin? Oh, it's cold over here. Okay, well, thank you so much, Dennis. We appreciate you coming and talking to us.
It's my pleasure.
And I learned a lot, Irvin. What about you?
Of course. That was a lot of information. I'm going to have to go back and review everything.
Yeah, I'm like, let me make sure I got a CD account and this and that. Okay. But that's all we have for today on Benito's Business. Again, I'm Yoltsin.
I'm Irvin.
And I'm Dennis.
And we'll see you next time.